Hey y'all. Um, so I know we've been discussing abortion rights, reproductive justice in our module for these past week or so. Um, so I like discussing abortion rights and reproductive justice because reproductive justice has touched me personally. Not just with me, but with my mother as well. Um, so my mother was in her first trimester. I was about 2 years old or so. Um, she unfortunately did not have a viable pregnancy. And if it wasn't for her access to a safe abortion, then I would probably not have a mother today because they said that she would not have survived that pregnancy. I also am grateful for the fact that I was able to receive an abortion due to an ectopic pregnancy that I had when I was 19. Wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. So when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I truly felt like we were going backwards in time. I feel like we're regressing a little bit as a nation. And so reproductive health is super important to me. Not just for me, but for everybody, and this includes trans men as well, that may require access to reproductive health. So I think the thing that's really grabbed my attention, and I had no idea that this is such a huge problem, is with racial injustice within the reproductive health care system. I did not honestly realize that Black women and women of color have dealt with so many racial disparities, even till this day. They're not receiving the medical care that they need, and they're dying at an alarming rate. So the push for reproductive justice is so very important, especially now, like I said, since Roe v. Wade was overturned. And the thing I'm getting from a lot of conservatives is that, oh, well, people can still get an abortion, but it's okay. It's not, it's fine. So as long as their state allows it. The problem with that is you have marginalized communities, women who are in poorer, more rural areas that are more conservative. The likelihood of them having access to a safe and affordable abortion is very slim. And so that means they may have to travel to receive proper medical care. And that's not always viable. A lot of women that are being affected by racial injustice and just by reproductive injustice in general are women that tend to come from a lower socioeconomic status, and they are poor. So they already don't have resources that they need to access general medical care necessarily. But they don't have, but even in this area, I'm quite positive that if I were to need an abortion, I would have to travel to Charlotte, which means I would have to make sure I had the gas money. I'd have to make sure I had the money for the abortion itself. And that's not always feasible for everybody. So I think reproductive justice, when it comes to eliminating racial disparities and socioeconomic disparities, And even, like I mentioned in the discussion about environmental impact that that reproductive justice that intersects with reproductive justice, you know, having access to clean and breathable air and clean water. These are all things that, you know, people who are seeking reproductive care need. And like I said in the discussion, you know, it's your right to have a child, your right to not have a child, but it's also your right to raise a child and parent a child in a safe and supportive environment. I really hope that despite the current administration, that we can keep pushing for reproductive justice, and that means for everybody that has a uterus. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Bye, y'all.